Hello everyone, this is Small Farmers 6710. Welcome back to another video, and this video is probably the biggest video yet on the channel. The biggest project that I've ever done, and it's all done, and at last, after 3 months, nearly 3 months, the 40-foot diorama is complete, which it came together really quick, and a lot quicker than I expected. There's a lot of interesting storylines going to be in this series, and you'll have to wait and see. The series will be starting next week, but for now I'll be showing you the full tour of the model farm, all the machinery, the characters that will be on each farm. So no further ado, let's get into it. So starting off here, we have an old farm, and it doesn't look that in well of condition, so it is. Now it's an old abandoned farm. I don't know a whole lot about it, but it's been abandoned since the late 90s, and after that the machinery, the land, the sheds, the property has been just sitting up, and nature has been taking it over ever since. Now it looks to be an old tillage farm. The house as well is included with the farm. So there's a lot of machinery here abandoned, and it's quite sad to see. The sheds as well are quite rusted up, and there's ivy growing up all around them, and there's the yard itself, there's weeds and all growing up. So it's a really sad sight to see. But I'm going to take you a tour through all the machinery here. So in the Dutch barn here we have what looks to be a Class Dominator 85 combine, and a small 10-foot header on the front there. And we have back in the late 90s, this machine would have been pretty new at the time, this JCB load all, so I doubt that has much use since the farm's been abandoned. Massey Ferguson 690, which doesn't look to be in bad condition at all, no rust at all looks to be on it. And there's a 3-throw converter and plough at the back. In the shed here, I cannot open the doors, so I can't really show you into that shed at the moment, but I'll see down the line if I can show you inside the shed. But for now I'll show you what I can currently see, or that I can get into. There's a Ford 7810 with a cultivator, an absolute gem of a tractor, just parked into the shed there. There's an old yellow grain trailer. And beside it there's a small John Deere conventional baler, which nature has clearly taken it over. There's another view of the Ford 7810. Luckily it's parked under a shed, so it's not that even, the rust isn't bad. Massey Ferguson 1200. Now this is an absolute gem of a tractor. It's an articulated one, so very rare and not many about, so it's very sad to see this just parked right beside the barn here, the brick barn. And nature has been taking it over. Dirt and rust taking it. Hopefully it won't be like this. Hopefully it'll be resurrected soon enough, or rescued, but we'll have to see. There's an old Bredel lime spreader or fertilizer spreader parked up against the other side of the brick barn, and then there's a diesel tank there. There's also a few other small implements like a PZ disc mower or drum mower and a push off buck rake. So that's about it there. There's nice tracks and all around the farm, so there is. And then up here across the road there, we have a derelict house, and we have a Citroen DS19, which is currently on blocks. The tyres are non-existent on it, and the house is long gone, the roof is long gone, so it is really sad to see this. It's really a sight. But yeah, moving on. That's the abandoned farm. So continuing off the abandoned farm, there's some grass fields. So this field here, the dairy farmers rent it out. They rent it, so they do for silage and some grazing, but mainly it's their silage field. We have a road going across, and then we have the tillage field, which also the dairy farmers rent, and they usually do a bit of beet in it, but last year they done crop in it. I think they done whole crop, so they change the crop around every few years. Then there's a kind of a muck patch in the corner of the field where they dump their manure or whatnot, their bales, so they can spread on the field, as it's quite a big lot of land here. And then this tillage field here is just an outside farmer has it, so they come from a long way to farm this field. As you can see, guys, the scenery in the back of the fields is really unbelievable. Here we have this old, it's not abandoned now, but it's a pretty old farm. This farm is owned by Barr, and he lives a simple life in his shed. He has a house and a shed, and he has one tractor, and he lives a simple life, and he has a few sheep, and he's happy. Here's Barr, he has his dog, and he has his chickens, and he has his sheep, and he has this big mountain here that he farms. And he lets the sheep up the mountain, and it's quite impressive sight, especially when you walk up there. You can get a pretty good sight on a clear day. So Barr has this Dave Brown 1490, which looks like it's seen better days, but it's still running, and he's pretty happy with it. He has a nice feel, so he does, with the old brick or walls or stone walls going around the field, around his farm. So that's Barr, and he's a gas man. So here we have the Contractors, run by Michael and James. Here are the two of them here, and they have quite an impressive contracting fleet, so they do. Now, they used to be builders, and they did the contracting on the side, so they did during the summer, so they weren't really full-time at the contracting. But this year they decided that they're going to go full-time at the contracting, and they're going to start building up, as they really have a flair for the contracting and for the farming. The building work was kind of getting repetitive, and they didn't really like it. They wanted a change, and they said since they were already doing the contracting, they'll go full-time at it. But yeah, they already have a few nice machinery, tractor wise as well, and they still kept their digger from their building business. But I'll show you their tractors and machinery. So obviously starting at is here at the back of the shed, inside the shed here, we have a New Holland T7 210 on a NC dump trailer. Quite a nice setup, and a lovely T7 210, I must say. Here we have the side, we have a JCB 8-ton digger, which they use for a bit of plant hire, I'd say. And we have a Nugent bale lifter, which they use for the silage bales, as they don't do pit silage, they do bale silage with their Fusion 3, as you can see in the shed there. But over at the side of the Dutch barn, they have an NC muck spreader and a bale trailer for bringing in the bales. John Deere 7430 and a McHale soft hands or bale handler. Quite a nice setup that is, the 7430. Like to also mention, these tractors machinery also, they're in pristine condition, so they looked after quite well. In the back of this lean-to here, there's a bit of tillage equipment. So we have a Pottinger cultivator at the back there, a Lemkin 1-pass, and a front and back Crone mowers. And then here in the 2-bay shed, we have a McHale Fusion 3 and a few other things like a weight block and A-frame and stuff in the back of the shed there. And here we have, you don't see one of these every day, a New Holland T7 260, but it's black power. So it's a lovely tractor, I must say. Goes well with the blue T7 as well. And then here, as if you thought them tractors weren't good enough to add to it, you have John Deere 7610, which is just in here in the workshop, just after getting the service. And here is their workshop. It's quite a nice workshop to have, nice and tidy. All the tools you'd ever want. Your welders, your toolboxes, your vise, your pliers, your wire cutters and all that stuff, your hydraulic oil, bale twine and everything. Quite a nice workshop now. Nice to have a workshop for your contracting business. But yeah, all the tractors, they all do contracting. The T7 260 would mainly run the front and back mowers, as it's more than capable for the mowers. The T7 210 would run the mowers as well, but the T7 260 would run it with ease. Also, the T7 260 would go on the Fusion baler, and so would the T7 210. The John Deere 7610 would go on anything really. Since it's the old tractor, it'd probably go on the muck spreader. And then the John Deere 7430, since it has its front loader, it'd be stacking the bales in the field and at the yard. So that's the advantage of having a front loader and all that. Yeah, nice contracting fleet, I must say. Their land, they have a big silage field at the back here, which they make some silage bales and sell them on to farmers. So that's there, James and Michael. So continuing off from the contractor's yard, the road continues off and goes around. There's a small farm track that goes at the back there into the silage field, and there's also a track I forgot to mention that goes at the back of the mechanic shed and goes to the back there. Goes into the yard. But here we have the IED plant, which when I mention it now, you'll definitely recognise the names, David and Nigel. So as you may remember from the last series, David and Nigel ran an IED plant or a biogas plant further away from their main yard. Well, this is the IED plant, which is what they're running. So as you see, the machinery is the exact same. Their New Holland 8870, their JCB 419S, they're just parked up there at the moment. The 8870 has been drawn about digestate, but yeah, this is the IED plant. Two massive pits. We have the digester here, we have the digestate tank, and we have a little office here for lads getting a cup of tea or any workshop tools in there if anything goes wrong, as they are quite far away from the yard, so it's good to have a few tools and whatnot in there, so that saves themselves going back to the yard. But yeah, David and Nigel, they have the land here, this field in front of us, and the track that goes down continues off to a few more fields there, which they harvest maize and grass. So this is another one of their grass fields here, which they harvest for the biogas plant or IED plant. So that's their land there, which they have. And then over here we have Rathmore Town. So this is Rathmore Town, the town that brings all the farmers together. It's a great community, so it is. We have the church, we have the pub or restaurant, and we also have the chipper. So we have Dempsey's chipper and Dempsey's pub, so they're all connected. And then we have nice golf there and car parks and stuff there, so plenty of parking, which is essential for happy customers and happy people around the town. Nice town, so it is, nice trees and stuff. But beside this we have a nice paddock here for maybe a hay field or grass grazing, maybe nice sized field for that. And the main road continues off. and goes past the IED plant and past the town. So here we have the dairy farm. Very nice farm. This is probably my favourite farm, I must say. My favourite yard. And it's very interesting to what these guys have. They're also contractors as well as running a dairy farm. They've been contracting a very long time. The father, Robert, has started it off many years ago, 40 years ago, so he's had it a long time, and his sons are helping him out and continuing the contracting business and also the farm. But yeah, it's a very successful farm, and it's your traditional dairy farm that would have, you know, a few cows and a few tractors and stuff, whatnot like that. So their land starts from this little hayfield here, or paddock, and continues right off to the far end. So they have quite a nice paddock here, or field, which it's mainly their grazing field for the cows, the milking cows, and they'd usually have an electric fence which they strip graze, and they'd have that out for when the cows go out during the springtime, towards March or April time. But for now they have a few machinery parked up. Here are the three main men. We have Robert on the right, which is the father. We then have Ryan, which is the son, and the other son is Ian. So we have Robert, Ryan and Ian, which is the three main characters for the dairy farming contractors. They have a few extra workers in during the busy times of the year, like summer and whatnot, for milking, like relief milkers, and also drivers for silage time. So they're quite busy men, so they are. So starting off with their machinery, and I'll get to the cows as well. So they have quite an impressive cow setup and for their livestock. So we'll get to the machinery first. So they have a Red Rock double axle low loader, which they put their Komatsu on. They do a bit of plant hire, and there's the buck rake for the O&K loan shovel. And inside here they have a new shiny class liner 30-foot rake, and there's the O&K in there. So this shed here, they only got built last year, and it's the indoor silage pit, so it is. Don't see many indoor silage pits, but it's quite good as it's kind of versatile. They're able to use as machinery shed during the winter time and during the summer when they're not bringing in the grass. But yeah, that's the O&K there. It's on this big fat tires for pushing up the silage. And there's the maize header for the silage harvester, which you'll see in just a second. Fleming roller is just there at the back there. And a Red Rock silage trailer as well for bringing in silage. One of their silage trailers. They have three, but only two of them are at the yard here. Here is the big machinery shed, which is their main machinery shed. I'll take off the top here to show you better, get a better view. So yeah, here's the case silage harvester. To explain in simple words, it's basically just a yellow New Holland FX, but it's a red KC HX 620, so it's plenty of power in this machine, and it's been serving Robert, Ian and Ryan for many years, silage harvesting and contracting, so it serves them good. We have the McConnell hedge cutter, which has been just put away as the hedge cutting season is coming to a close. Coon mower, which they only got a few years ago and is going quite well, has a conditioner on it. McHale F550, which they use for straw and also their hay, so that's quite good baler for them. John Deere 3200, which it gets into the spaces where the O&K can't get in. The O&K has quite massive tyres, so it makes it quite awkward for getting into sheds or mucking out sheds or stacking bales, so this is where the John Deere telehandler comes into play and is able to do them jobs. Here's one of their 4 tractors, the class A36RZ, which is proven to be quite a good tractor. They previously had a Renault version of these, but it went on fire and they said they'd get a class one, so it's going quite good. Here is their workshop. Like Michael and James, they have a workshop as well, so they have a few spanners, vices, anything you'd have in a workshop, air compressor and whatnot in there. And the class 836 is currently hooked up to an air seeder, which is a cultivator as well, and they do a bit of reseeding with that. Here along the side they have the shear grab and the NC sweeper. They're sweeping after the maize and coming out of the fields after slurry. Here at the other corner of the yard we have the beat pad, which is when they do a bit of beat during the October months or early spring, January time, where they do the beat. They tip it all in there, but for now they have their silage trailers and dump trailers here. So they have a Johnston trailer, which the T6020 usually goes on. They have a dually dump trailer, which they do all their plant hire work with it. And definitely a very impressive tractor here, Ford 8210, which has been restored there a few years ago, and they've kept it in pristine condition ever since. It's on oversized tyres, which really make it stand out. Has a big chrome exhaust, which obviously makes it stand out, and dual beacons. And this tractor is still a workhorse. It's not a tractor that sits in the shed and just collects dust. This tractor goes out, works as much as all the rest of the tractors, so it's great to see. But it gets a power wash every week without a doubt, so that's why it's in such great condition. Agitator is next to it, and then the New Holland 8560, which is another one of their tractors. It's currently on the 4-furrow converter plough, which is just parked up for the weekend, and it'll be going out ploughing for the spring crops. Getting to the last of the machinery, I'll get to the cows now, but for the scraper tractor, they have a lovely Dave Brown 880, which does all their scraping. The exhaust is currently off it, but I believe they're getting a new one in the post there from the dealership. Here at the back beside the cow shed, we have an Abbey 2000 gallon tanker. We have New Holland T6020 and a Keenan diet feeder, which is another one of their tractors, and that does all the diet feeding, and it goes on the Johnson silage trailer for the summertime, and also goes on the McConnell hedge cutter. So that's 3 of the main jobs that the T6020 does. It also may go on the rake as well if one of the other tractors are busy. But yeah, that's what T6020 does. So yeah, getting into the cows, you may see it's an outdoor feeding outlet for the cows, which you don't see every day, and probably different to add. They have quite a few cows, all Frisians. Here's the cow house, which has all the cubicles. There are quite a few cubicles in there, which the cows can go into. And along the side here they have the crush, and also the passageway for when the cows are finished milking time, which the milking parlour is right here. So it's a 4-bay milking parlour, not massive by any means, but it gets Robert, Ian and Ryan, gets them done. It gets the milking done for them, and they're quite happy with it. In the other side of the shed, we have the Dairy Master tank, the milk tank, and we have the calves house, the calves pens. So yeah, they have 2 pens here, and we have in the left side here we have 4. We have 4 on the right side as well. So we have 4 8 calves here, and the milk gets fed into them. So they're happy as Larry in a nice warm shed and straw. So that's it there for the dairy farm. Quite an impressive farm, so it is. And they're always kept busy, so they are. There's a few other machinery parked around the corner here, which is not in everyday use, I must say now. So before they are pushing up silage with a loan shovel, they have this push-off buck rake, which sometimes comes in handy for their contracting, as some customers may have an indoor silage pit that the roof is quite low, so they might put a tractor onto the push-off buck rake and do it that way. It does have an old silage trailer which they sometimes use, which may get them out of hassle if they're looking for a trailer. But that's it there for the dairy farm. That's all their land. It goes from this field here and continues all the way up past here. This is also one of their silage fields, which is mainly for silage only. They may use it for grazing for the cows the odd time, but there's another silage field as well. And also I mentioned a Komatsu digger earlier there on, so this is their Komatsu digger. It's out here, it's not in the farm as they don't want to take up room in the farm, so it's just here in this corner of the field, sitting up high, and that does all the plant hire and digger work, so it does. So going through this valley of a road, we have Agrico. So owned by Larry. You may notice Grain Co and Gravel Co were in the last series. Well, this is Agrico, which is basically two of the companies combined and provides a service for all the farmers and builders as well. So here we have different grades of, I suppose, hardcore and gravel. So we've some bit of granite stone, we have a bit of shale or hardcore here, which may be good for like a ground or a nice road. And then we have some gravel here, which should be good for driveways and things like that. And then have the New Holland teleporter, which loads up all the lorries and tractors. They also have some gates for sale, fuel tanks, transparent corrugated sheets for sheds, gate posts, feed troughs, fencing, feed barriers, and some pallets. And in here they have one of their forklifts, and they also, during the summertime when the farmers are shearing their wool, they bring it into the shed here and keep it in store there. But have some potato pallets in there, and also some seed bags as well. In here we have the store, which the farmers come in. As you see, there's a few things in here for the farmers. There's an A-frame, light guards for trailers, a slug pellet machine which you can put on the back of a sprayer, and the checkpoint or the desk up there, the customer's desk up there. So nice store there. And also if you want to order like gravel or hardcore, you go into the office there and you say, I want 15 ton of hardcore or whatever, and then you get your receipt and then you get loaded up. So that's how Agrico works, and it's owned by the same person, Larry, from the previous series. And then down here you have the quarry. Now it's not as big as the previous quarry, but it's still decent size nonetheless. So it have their sand here, which Larry's come down for. Then we have the hardcore here, which hasn't been crushed up, and Larry's come down for that as well. We have the dumpers here as well, which we have the A25C, and we have the Doosan is mainly the main dumper, but then the A25C is kind of the backup dumper. And then we have the 4CX here as well, which does a bit of digging. So that's about it there for Agrico, and then the whole rest of the farm, guys. The 40-foot diorama. Let me know what you think of the farm, and also let me know what you think of the farm. And I've listened to a lot of your suggestions from building the farm, and mainly the cows and livestock was a big one. I didn't really have a lot of livestock in the previous farm, so I said I'd go a bit more extreme on the livestock, hence why I have a really big cow shed here, and milking parlour and all that. So that's what I picked up, and also the IED plant was another suggestion. So that's there, David and Nigel's. And we still have the Contractors farm, and we also have the abandoned farm, which it'll be quite exciting to see what will happen to this in the next few episodes. But for now on, the next episode starting next Sunday, episode 1 on the 40-foot diorama. Can't wait to start into it, and it's going to be a really good series with a well planned out storyline. So let me know, guys, what you think of the farm. Make sure to comment down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't, to not miss out on the series that'll be starting up next Sunday. So hope you guys enjoyed the video of this very exciting video, the biggest video so far on the biggest project so far. Hope to see you again soon. Make sure to like and subscribe. Bye for now.